The police were ready to close the file. Another missing woman. Another case unsolved. They said she must have walked away from her life. But her brother knew better. He knew Maggie Price would never leave without a word, and he wasn't ready to let her go. Ethan Price was nobody. At least, that's what everyone thought. Quiet, awkward, forgettable, dismissed by neighbors, ignored by police, even mocked by the lead detective, Robert Garrison. To him, Ethan was just a grieving brother who couldn't face reality. But Ethan had something no one else did. Maggie's dog, a golden retriever named Daisy. And Daisy refused to stop digging. Night after night, Daisy clawed at the same patch of dirt in Maggie's backyard, whining, scratching, refusing to give up. Ethan finally gave in, and that's when he saw it, a torn plastic bag. Inside, Maggie's bracelet, the very one Ethan had given her for her birthday. He rushed the police. He begged them to reopen the case. But Detective Garrison leaned back, smirking. Dogs dig things up all the time. Could have been buried years ago. The case is closed. Time to move on. Move on. Those words burned into Ethan's chest. But then Daisy dug again. And this time, what Ethan found could no longer be denied. Buried deep in the soil were pieces of Maggie's life. Her scarf, stained with blood. Her phone, stripped of its SIM card. And a pair of handcuffs carved with the initials RG. Robert Garrison, the detective himself. The man in charge of the investigation. The man who had laughed in Ethan's face. He wasn't ignoring the truth. He was hiding it. Ethan was no hero, no fighter, but he had truth on his side. And Daisy wasn't done digging. Ethan reached out to a local journalist, Claire Benton. Together, they exposed everything. The evidence, the cover-up, the betrayal of a man sworn to protect. And then the tables turned. State investigators stormed the Ridgewood Falls Police Department. Files were seized. Computers confiscated. And Robert Garrison, once untouchable, was led away in handcuffs. Justice. At least, that's what Ethan thought. Until Garrison leaned close, smiling, and whispered, "You think this is over?" Maggie wasn't the first, and she won't be the last. The word sent a chill through Ethan's bones. If Garrison was telling the truth, then Maggie's case was only the beginning. That night, Daisy barked wildly again. This time, not in the backyard, but deep in the woods. Ethan followed with a flashlight, his heart pounding, and then the beam caught it, something half buried in the dirt. Not Maggie, but another body. The police were ready to close the case, but Daisy had just blown it wide open. Never underestimate the quiet ones, the overlooked, the dismissed, because sometimes they're the only ones willing to dig for the truth. The night was silent. Only Daisy's barking broke the air. Ethan's flashlight shook in his hand as the beam caught the outline in the dirt. Another body. Not Maggie. Someone else. Someone forgotten. The police had been wrong from the start. Or maybe they had known all along. State investigators swarmed the woods. The remains were carefully unearthed. Female. Young. No ID. No record. But one thing was clear. Maggie wasn't Robert Garrison's only victim. And the town of Ridgewood Falls was about to learn just how deep his crimes went. Forensic teams uncovered more evidence near the site. Fragments of clothing, jewelry, bones scattered through the soil. 3 victims in total, buried within walking distance of Ethan's home, right under their noses. The media erupted. The town demanded answers. How had a decorated detective managed to get away with this for years? But Ethan already knew. Power, fear, and silence. Robert Garrison hadn't just worn a badge. He had used it to bury the truth. In custody, Garrison refused to talk. He sat in his cell, smirking, almost amused. And every time Ethan saw his face on the news, he heard those same words echoing back. Maggie wasn't the first, and she won't be the last. Ethan couldn't sleep. He couldn't eat. Every sound in the night made his heart pound. Because if Garrison wasn't lying, then someone else out there was still in danger. Daisy kept searching, her nose pressed the ground, her tail stiff, her bark sharp. She led Ethan further into the woods, night after night, until one evening, she stopped at the edge of an old logging road. There, hidden beneath the leaves, was something small, a cell phone, cracked, mud-stained, but not Maggie's. The name on the lock screen froze Ethan's blood. It belonged to a girl who had gone missing 2 years earlier, a case Robert Garrison had investigated, a case he had closed, and it was only the beginning. Detectives reopened old files, searching for patterns, missing women, closed cases, reports that never made sense, and the list began to grow. 1, 2, 5, 7. Each case linked back to Ridgewood Falls. Each case linked back to Robert Garrison. But Ethan noticed something the investigators missed. Each victim wasn't random. They all had one thing in common. Every one of them had crossed paths with Garrison before they disappeared. Teachers, waitresses, local clerks, and now Maggie. But why them? Why these women? The answer came in the most unexpected way. One stormy night, Ethan returned home to find his door unlocked. Inside, the living room was silent, but on the table sat an envelope. No name, no return address. Inside, a single photograph. Maggie, found, gagged, but alive. The picture wasn't old. It had been taken recently. Ethan's breath caught. If Maggie was still alive, then Garrison wasn't working alone. Someone out there still had her. Someone the police hadn't even considered. And Daisy? She wouldn't stop barking at the tree lean, as though she knew the truth was closer than anyone realized. The case wasn't over. It was just beginning. Because now, Ethan wasn't fighting to prove Maggie was gone. He was racing to prove she was still alive. But what Ethan didn't know yet was that the person holding Maggie had already set their eyes on him. Thanks for tuning in to Truth Doesn't Stay Buried. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to smash that like button, drop your thoughts and comments, and share this video with someone who loves mysteries. And of course, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.